This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, good morning, everyone. This is Juan Armenta. I'm the president of the Physicians Assistant Board. Today is November 7th, 2022, and I'm calling to order our meeting for this morning being conducted by WebEx to commence at 8:30. I think it is now 8:32. So good morning, everybody. And Ms. Hayden, if you will please start us off by calling the roll.
Good morning. Charles Alexander.
Present.
Juan Armenta.
Present.
Jennifer Carlquist.
Present.
Sonia Early.
Present.
Jed Grant.
Present.
Randy Hawkins. Diego Insunza.
Present.
Vasco Dion Kidd.
Present.
Randy Hawkins.
Good morning, everyone. Dr. Hawkins.
This concludes the roll.
Excellent. Okay, it looks like we have everybody here. Thank you, everybody, for joining us and getting this meeting underway. So now that we've completed the roll call, item number 3 would be considered approval of the August 8th, 22 minutes. I trust everybody has had an opportunity to take a look at the minutes. Do we have any comments on the minutes? Or any corrections, I should say also. All right, having heard none, does anybody have a motion for adoption of those minutes?
President Armenta, this is Jed Grant. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Good morning. Thank you, Jed. I appreciate that. Is there any second to that motion?
I would like to second. This is Sonia Early, Vice President.
Good morning, Sonia. Thank you. Before we vote, of course, we need to ask for public comment on the motion to approve the minutes. Moderator, could you open the Q&A period to allow for the public comment on the motion?
This is the moderator, and at the direction of the board, I have opened up the Q&A feature for public comment. Members of the public, if you would like to make a comment on this item, please click the Q&A icon located at the bottom right-hand corner of your WebEx screen or use the raise hand function. And audio-only participants can raise their hand by pressing *3 on their device. And it appears we have no requests for public comment. Would you like me to close that Q&A panel?
That would be fine. Thank you. Very good. So on the motion, if we could please have a vote.
Charles Alexander.
Aye.
Juan Armenta.
Aye.
Jennifer Carlquist.
Aye.
Sonia Early.
Aye.
Jed Grant.
Aye.
Diego Insunza.
Aye.
Vasco Dion Kidd.
Aye.
This concludes the vote.
Very good. Thank you. By vote, a unanimous vote, the minutes are considered approved. Thank you, everybody. Moving on to agenda item number 4. This is the public comment on items not on the agenda. Moderator, could you please do what is necessary to allow for public comment? Or maybe first I should say, do you have any comments for items not on the agenda from any board members? Very well. Having heard none, moderator, could you please open the conduit for public comment for any items not on the agenda.
This is the moderator, and at the direction of the board, I have opened up the Q&A feature for public comment. Members of the public, if you would like to make a comment on this item, please click the Q&A icon located at the bottom right-hand corner of your WebEx screen or use the raise hand function. And it appears we don't have any public on the call, so would you like me to close the Q&A panel?
Yes, please. Thank you. All right, that concludes item number 4. And item number 5 is a nomination and election of board officers, and I will hand that off to our learned counsel, Mr. Knox.
Good morning, everyone. This is Michael Knotes, your legal counsel, and welcome to your elections for this year. Under Business and Professions Code, Section 3509.5, the board's required to elect annually a president and a vice president from among its members. Are there any nominations for the position of board president?
Yes, I would like to nominate, this is Vice President Sonia Early. I'd like to nominate Juan Armenta for president.
Is there a second for that nomination?
This is Dion Kidd. I will second that motion.
I haven't heard a second. Is there a second for that nomination?
Yes, this is Vasco Dion Kidd. I second that nomination.
Excellent. Are there any other nominations for the position of board president?
Can I move that nominations be closed?
Is there any discussion on board members for the election of board president?
Dr. Hawkins, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
It's a moot question. I was just curious, since Mr. Early nominated Mr. Arente, who's done a great job, I assume she did not want to be president. That's true, Sonia, is that correct?
That is true. I thank you for I never thought about that, but yes, that is true.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Dr. Hawkins.
Okay, being that there's no public on the call, I'm going to dispense with public comment and we can call the roll for the election of board president.
Charles Alexander,
Aye.
Juan Armenta,
Aye.
Jennifer Carlquist,
Aye.
Sonia Early,
Aye.
Jed Grant,
Aye.
Joe Insunza,
Aye.
Vasco Dion Kidd.
Aye.
Let's vote.
Excellent. Congratulations, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Knotes. I want to thank everybody for their confidence, and I look forward to help us through another year. Hopefully it'll be a bit different year. We shall see. Thank you, Mr. Knotes.
Excellent. So are there any nominations for the position of board vice president?
This is Board President Armenta. I'd like to nominate once again Sonia Early for vice president.
Is there a second for that nomination?
This is Charles Alexander. I'd like to second that nomination.
Excellent. Are there any other nominations for the position of board vice president? Hearing none, is there any discussion? Again, seeing no public present, we'll dispense with public comment, and if we could please call the roll.
Charles Alexander,
Aye.
Juan Armenta,
Aye.
Jennifer Carlquist,
Aye.
Sonia Early,
Aye.
Ted Grant,
Aye.
Diego Insunza,
Aye.
Vasco Dion Kidd,
Aye.
concludes the roll.
Motion carries. Congratulations, Madam Vice President.
Thank you so much. I love working with the board and working with our fellow board members. Thank you again.
That concludes your board elections. Mr. President, I'll hand it back over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Knotes. So thank you, everybody, for confidence in Sonia and I in moving this forward. So that brings us right into number 6, which is the President's report, which dovetails perfectly because I want to advise everybody that I know this is a tradition even started perhaps even before Mr. Grant was president during his great tenure, but we've also continued to have bi-weekly meetings with the executive officer by telephone, in which we go over everything that is on our plate. Any technical problems may come up, staffing issues, which I'm happy to report Rosanna has done a great job in navigating our board. So those meetings are really helpful in terms of organization and understanding where we're going to be able to report to the board at our regular meetings. The other item I should report on is that the waivers basically will end at the end of February in terms of administration and of COVID vaccines. Hopefully, we will make it through the winter months without too much spiking of COVID, but we shall see on that front. So the details are, of course, on the board website, but those waivers have changed. We will get later on in the meeting this morning with respect to our calendar, but be aware that the meetings by virtual will end in July in terms of the order from the governor allowing us to do so. So anticipate for next year that we will have some in-person meetings so we can get to share company and have a face-to-face. Of particular importance, of course, are the strategic meetings. So we will get to that at that point. Other than that, even though Sonia and I were both absent for a period out of the country during the over the summer, we were able to carry out, still reaching out with Rosanna, our executive officer, to be fully informed so we can inform the board of any happenings within the office. So we were in excellent shape. So with that, I will turn over to number 7, which is Rosanna's executive officer report. And Rosanna, if you would, please.
Good morning, everyone. I will start off with office operations. The board is managing ongoing telework for staff while continuing to balance office operations. Personnel, on September 12, 2022, Administrative Analyst Ariel Gompers accepted a promotional position with the California Department of Healthcare Services. Additionally, on October 14, 2022, Licensing Analyst Margarita Harrington resigned to pursue other interests and navigate life outside of state service. The recruitment process is underway to fill the vacant positions. Assistant Executive Officer Christy Voong is temporarily assisting with the workload to maintain coverage of these essential positions. Next is outreach. Board staff had the pleasure of attending the annual conference hosted by California Academy of PAs, CAPA, during Physician Assistant Week in Carlsbad, California. CAPACon is a conference for general medicine and specialty PAs that encompasses clinical lectures and hands-on workshops for a total of 48 possible Category 1 CME credits. Our staff was available to answer any questions from licensees and students and to hand out updated laws and regulations booklets. We greatly appreciate the opportunity provided to us by CAPA to attend this exceptional event. Last but not least, information technology, development of the instructional video to assist applicants with the licensure process has resumed. Peter Fournier, the newest information officer for the Department of Consumer Affairs, is assigned to the board. Mr. Fournier is currently working on a script production for the instructional video. On August 22nd, 2022, the board launched its redesigned website. The migration from the old website to the new website was seamless. The redesigned website has improved functionality by providing a more user-friendly interface and streamlining the information presented. A special thank you to the DCA Information Technology team for their assistance in revamping the board's website. The board continues to utilize its subscriber alert system, social media accounts, and website to maximize outreach, which serves as the primary communication tools for licensees and members of the public. That concludes my report. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Dr. Hawkins, I have a question.
Yes.
Good morning, Sonia. Thank you. Rosanna, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So I had a question. My wife's a PA. I haven't been to a PA meeting in years. She just retired actually after 40 years working for Kaiser as a pediatric PA. And I was just curious, you had a booth there, I think. I was curious about the perception of the PA board to the general PA membership. And I know that we have challenges, which I won't go in detail about, having to do with one of the major physician led boards in California. And I don't want to tie up a lot of time. I just want to know if that makes you make a comment, my question generate any comment about perception, ability to participate at that meeting.
So as far as the outreach, it was great that we were able to attend, and we received positive feedbacks. We took about 150 laws and regulations booklet, which were all gone. And one of the things that I did mention to President Armenta is that I was a little surprised that some PAs did not know who we were, that we are the licensing and regulatory board. So we want to do a better job with outreach. And that's our goals in 2023 and moving forward, is to make sure that they understand and they know that we are the licensing and regulatory board for PAs.
Thank you very much for that and your representation.
Thank you.
I would like to add my comment to that. It was kind of shocking to understand that the licensees don't understand that we are the board that oversees them. For a couple of reasons. Obviously, you kind of want to know who gives you your license. We're all familiar with the DMV, I'm sure. So I think this is even more important. So looking forward, as Sonia, Rosanna, and I did discuss, and I'm sure board members share this, is we should probably make sure that the PAs know that we're here not only for licensing, but for any support that they may need in the future. So that's something that it should be all in our minds for messaging moving forward. Any other comments on the executive officer's report? Okay, Mr. Connotes, I don't need public approval or public comment for that, or do I?
There's no public present. Why don't you just for each item make a record that there's no public present and move on?
Okay, so very well. Being there no public present, we will not go to that part, and we will go ahead and move to item number 8, which is the board licensing reports. 8A is licensing. So Staff Member Caldwell has the floor, if you would, please.
Julie will be right here. She actually is on the phone. She'll be right here.
Mr. President, this is Jed Grant. I'm wondering if maybe we could move to complaints or something else since she's not available right now.
I'm sorry, Jed, you were very low. I couldn't hear you quite well. What was your?
I was just asking if maybe we could move on to complaints or something else for activity reports and come back to licensing since she's not available.
Yeah, excellent idea. Okay, so yes, let's, Mr. Melendez, if you could bring us into complaints.
Yes. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay. Good morning. I will be providing you a section of the enforcement activity report in regard to the complaints for the first quarter. We will be focusing on the first quarter of July 1st, 2022 to September 30th, 2022. As you can see, we have also provided stats from the previous year to year. This report will also show how we are trending this fiscal year from the last. So as far as complaints, we have received 113 complaints. We have received 9 convictions and arrests, with a total of 122 received at the board. Intake, we have 123 cases assigned to the desk analyst. 0 complaints are pending at the intake. Complaints and investigations. There are 12 complaints that were referred for investigation. 102 complaints and investigations were closed for the quarter. 249 complaints are pending at the analyst desk. 64 cases, 64 in investigations pending at the field. Investigation and aging. The average age of pending investigation is at 305 days. Investigations over 8 months old, there are 33 cases. I would like to move to the following chart. For the following chart is on the complaints received by type and source. And if you have any questions, this concludes my portion of the report. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Just a quick clarification.
Sure.
I'm sure that's the case, but your year-to-year change, that's just doing the math from quarter 1 as opposed to the prior year change.
Yes.
Okay. So
Yes.
So when we see in the 75% range for 1 quarter down, it looks like we're still pretty consistent, plus or minus a few points.
Yes. That's just focused on the first quarter to the last year's stats. I verified last year's first quarter, and it's about the same. Just increased a few more cases.
Okay, very good. Thank you. All right, very good. Any other questions or comments?
Yes. Hi, this is Sonia Early, Vice President. Do you see a trend in the complaints? Are they all of the same nature or not from last year?
The only trend that I thought I would see would be more complaints about. I haven't really seen a trend. They just have been increasing. That's about it. But there's nothing specific that I can say that I've seen. Like I thought I would see more complaints about like people's first initial visit, because most patients always start off with their complaint that well, they wouldn't even start. They would just mention that they first had to see their physician or PA. Yeah, like telemedicine, but that wasn't the complaint. The complaint was the second treatment they received. But other than that, everything's been pretty much the same. Just the increase in complaints per year, from last year.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And any other questions or comments on the complaint section?
Hey, this is Jed Grant. I just want to, again, express my appreciation for the multicolored chart that shows where the complaints are coming from. I think it allows a nice trending over time, and you can sort of see that at least if you add, multiply our numbers for the first quarter of this fiscal year based on all of last year, it seems to be fairly close in number for most of them. So this is a chart that was put together at my request a few years ago, and I think it's really meaningful in terms of trying to draw trends. So thanks for keeping it going.
Thank you, Jed. Yeah, I do believe it is useful. One thing that caught my eye is the yellow one, public fraud, which is just an interesting category. So that's good to know. So, okay, any other comments on the complaint section? Very good. Do we have Ms. Caldwell back? Thank you, Mr. Melendez. Do we have Ms. Caldwell back?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Sorry about that. I was assisting a licensee on the phone.
Well, that is an important job function of yours. So please go right ahead with your presentation.
Sure. So the first report that we have is the licensing population by type, and it really just gives a big picture of the different types of license status that one may have, and you can see them broken down. Currently, we have 16,165 individuals that have a license status with current, 33 with current inactive, and 1 on temporary family support. So a total of 23,535 individuals and all varying statuses. Move on to the next one. This is summary of licensing activities. So this really just shows you during July 1st of 2022 and September 30th of 2022, how many individuals applied for a license, how many were issued a license, and how many individuals renewed their license. So we had an addition of 407 PAs join the profession in this time period. This is a pending application workload, and what this does is give a good idea of the applications that we have in-house and where they're at in progress. We do have 2 different pies that show the desk age and the application age. The application age starts the day that they're entered in the system, whether it be by paper or online. And then the desk age starts once they get assigned to an individual. And there can be a lag in that assignment to a specific individual. We try to do our best to print the online applications weekly, a couple times, and then at that time, that's when they get assigned. So there's a several day difference from when they applied and when they actually get assigned to a staff member. But for the most part, this just gives a really good idea of how long the majority of the individuals have been in the system and where they're at in the process. And the difference in colors from green to yellow to orange to red, it really shouldn't cause any concern. If we have individuals that are in red, it means that they have been reviewed. It just means that we don't have everything that's required to issue them a license. And it could be simply that they applied super early and had to wait 2 or 3 months before they could even graduate, or before they graduated and could take the PANCE exam. It could mean that they have, 20 different PA licenses in other states, and there's some difficulty getting a verification. There could be a delay getting the results of the background check. Sometimes that can cause 2 or 3 months at a time on the initial application itself. So it's not that we're not reviewing them and giving them updates. It just means that they're delay in getting the requirements in the office. And then that just breaks down the application age, which is always a little bit longer because that's when it first gets into the system. Like currently, As of September 21st, we've changed a couple of things on our online application. One being that we've removed the ability to apply on by paper. We still have a paper application for those that are having some difficulty with the online system and would prefer to mail in a paper app, but most of the individuals are applying online. And the licensing performance measure just gives you an idea how long it's taking us to review someone. So you apply today, November 7th, you should have a review by staff no later than December 7th, and that review would either be, and at the end result of the review would be an email to that individual or a letter mailed out if we don't have an email address on file. We do call everyone if we don't have an email address on file. What happens in the Breeze system is that individuals are required to use their email address to register for a Breeze account in order to be able to apply. But the email address itself is not required in the application. And some individuals either are wary of giving us an email address, or they assume that because they've registered using an email address, it automatically populates into the application, and that's not the case. So when we do receive an application that doesn't have an email address, we do give them a call to see if we can collect that, because it really helps us with providing them information quicker, sooner than later. But this is at a glance of how long it's taking staff to provide that initial review.
I do have a question on that email process where you have to call them up and get an email. Is that going okay? Is there any problem with that, or any refusals, or people that don't have email addresses, or does that seem to be working just fine?
No, I would say we're probably at a 99% rate. We do get some that we have, voice box are full, or they haven't been set up, so we can't leave a message. We do get some individuals that, for whatever reason, when you're applying for a license, my opinion is that you should be using your personal phone number and email address on your application, because those are confidential. They're not shared, sold, or displayed. And so our applicants should feel there's a comfort zone in providing that information. And what we do find sometimes is that an individual is using a work phone number. They're currently employed in the state of New York, and so they list their work number, and that makes it a little bit challenging to collect an email address. So that would be my only obstacle that I face when I'm trying to collect the email address, is that just sometimes we have the inability to leave a message, or it's going to a work location, and it's really hard to get a hold of people sometimes.
Okay, so that doesn't sound like an insurmountable obstacle. Just
no.
Okay, all right.
Nope.
Very good. Thank you. Any other questions or comments for Ms. Caldwell on licensing?
Yes, I have one question. Thank you so much for letting us know that we still have paper copies. I was unaware of that. How many paper copies? And then do they download it from the computer, or do you mail it out? How do they get those paper copies?
Well, we prefer them to apply online. The process is the same, and the benefit for applying online is that they get placed in line for review. There's no lost in the mail waiting for it to come in. So if they're in a hurry, it's the whole online process is the best way. But if they're we have some licensees for renewals, example, they have a difficulty, the geographic challenge, maybe their printers, something's going on where they're unable to do the online system. So we do mail them a copy of it. So that would be a simple email or a phone call into the board requesting a paper application. But for the most part, the online system does work well. We do have a fantastic support system that the department provides. And so if there's any issues with not being able to log in due to forgot user ID and password, they're there on site to assist with that. And then staff is able to assist them walking through the application itself.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That's a needed probably process. So thank you.
Yep. You're welcome.
President Armenta, this is Jed. I have a question and a comment for Julie.
Please.
Julie, I my comment is on the information that has public disclosure. I think over the years, a lot of PAs have been confused about what information is going to be released to the public that they provide to the board. For example, office address versus home address, that sort of thing, which I think will come up later in the meeting. But I wonder if there might be a way on the application or where information is on the website before they apply that says, hey, this is the information that's public. Everything else is private. Please, don't be concerned about sharing your private information with the board because we need to get a hold of you and it won't be released to the public we know the one significant exception is required by law. Is that something that you can do or that you've tried to do or it already is on there?
It's already available. So the information that we have linked on our website, we have a paper document that's an application instructions general information document. It could be renamed right now to instructions and general information. So it does talk about the address of record and the fact that the confidential address, phone number, and email are confidential and will not be provided to the public or posted to the board's website. That's also reiterated in the online application, as well as the change of address form. I mean, it is standard language that we try and carry over wherever we touch upon the address to assure individuals that this is private information, that it's just for the board's use only. And it's really just if we need to get a hold of you for some reason, the personal email and the phone number are really more helpful than you were. I understand there's some hesitancy there, but for the most part, I mean, we do get quite a few people that give us their personal email address. The phone number would be more of, I think, what we see as a work number that's being listed. And it's fine to use your work address as your address of record. I would always, anytime I have an opportunity to talk to a licensee or an applicant, I'm always advising that they have a conversation with their employer because their employer, maybe HR is not aware that you're onboarding shortly. So as a new applicant, you do get a couple of documents from the board. They could arrive prior to you starting or going through the credentialing process, and they're not sure what to do with them. So I sometimes suggest that those individuals wait until they actually receive those wall certificate and paper pocket card now, because they come so quickly after you get your license, and then they go in and update their address to their work address. But for the most part, everything that we've, as far as the sensitivity or the confidential, that is linked all over our website as well as our application.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. It's been quite some time since I filled out an initial application,
Sure.
so I just wasn't sure what was there.
Yeah, I think it's also, if I could be wrong on this, but I think it's also on the renewal form. That then the change of address too. So if they do decide that they want to change their address after being licensed, it's also shared there too that it is kept confidential. But I think for the most part, we're not challenged with collecting the email address. It's just a little bit of an extra step that we have to reach out to them by phone.
Okay, great. Thanks for clarifying. And then my only other question was, on the report, I note that the desk age and application age for Miss Harrington is quite a bit higher than everyone else. And I recall from the president's report that a few weeks ago, she left the board. And I just wanted to make sure that see if you're tracking those, that increased age on hers is not because they've been languishing or anything.
So what happens for an application is typically because Maggie was the main licensing analyst, any online application, it comes in without being assigned somebody. So when we run a report, we can see that someone has applied online and the fees have been paid. We then go into the application and assign it to a staff member. So just as a default, Maggie was that person that they were assigned to. That doesn't mean that that is Maggie's workload. It just means that it's now been assigned. And that's an easy way for us to see who's applied online and we haven't actually downloaded their summary or their payment so that we can place them in the drawer for review. Individuals that apply online and do not pay the fee, they do not get printed or placed in line for review until those fees are paid. So it's just for a quick glance for us to be able to see, okay, it's been assigned, so we know that it's in the drawer and we're going to be working on it. But it really doesn't identify a specific workload for that person. And you'll see Maggie, and it's kind of a time-consuming process to go in and open an application and reassign it or unassign it. So we'll just leave them as they are right now because it really doesn't identify the workload.
Okay, great.
Help?
Thank you. Yes, yeah. Thank you for clarifying. I appreciate it.
Sure.
All right, thank you, Jed. Those are important clarification points. I appreciate that. Any other comments for the licensing report? All right, very well. Hearing none. Thank you, Julie. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Let's move on to item C, discipline. Staff member Hayden, if you would, please.
Good morning. So these are the discipline stats for the first quarter, which is July 1st, 2022 to September 30th, 2022. During that quarter, there were no suspensions. But for the Office of the Attorney General, the transmittals, there's 9 cases were transmitted. There are 45 cases pending, and the average age of the pending cases is 318 days. For the formal actions that are filed, withdrawn, or dismissed, for the first quarter, we had 8 accusations filed and 1 petition to revoke probation filed. For the administrative outcomes and the final order, there was 1 licensee placed on probation, 1 license revoked, 1 license surrendered, and there was 1 petition for early termination of probation granted. And for the citation and fine, we have 1 case that was closed and resolved. There is 1 pending. And the fines received for this quarter was $5,050. And that concludes my report. Does anyone have any questions?
All right, well, hearing none, and thank you, Ms. Hayden, for your report. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. That will conclude that section. And then D and E are both to staff member Gerard. So if you would please lead us through those sections.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Mr. President, and good morning, the rest of the board members. It's good to see you, at least figuratively.
Same here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So in July, we had somebody begin a probation, and we also had somebody successfully complete probation. That all. Oh, in the end of last quarter, somebody became told, which is reflected in July. And everything else says there were no other changes. So we have 45 total probationers with 9 tolling. Okay, the diversion activity. We had, from last quarter, there were 3. So we had withdrawals. So now we're down to 2. I did some traveling. I went to Fresno area and I went to the Los Angeles area, not like in the Inland Empire, but down to like in the city of Los Angeles. So we did that. Are there any questions?
I have the same question I had before, and how are you being received by your visits?
I'm generally received well. I wait. If there's a line, I wait to be seen. If there's patients in front of me, we're standing in line. And then when I go up there, I hand them my card and I say, I'm here to see Mr. or Miss so-and-so. just for a few moments, I say, because usually it's pretty packed. If it's really packed in there, I say I'm just going to be a few moments, and I let them know that, you know, they may be expecting me. And then I wait, and I've told myself I'll wait maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and then leave and basically send them a letter. But I haven't actually had to wait that long. Folks have come out of the back and then pulled me into, you know, like an exam room or their office and meet with me. So I haven't had to, you know, indicate that there was a no-show or that I waited too long. Because when I do an intake, I say I don't expect you to stop seeing that patient, but maybe see me in between. And so I expect to wait a little bit. It's been fine, sir.
Okay, everybody seems to be cooperating, and you're given the professional respect that we would all hope you'd receive.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's good. Any other comments or questions? Okay, excellent. Thank you, Ms. Gerard. That concludes the board activity reports. I guess still there's no public involved, so we don't need to, we can dispense with the public.
This is the
Go ahead, Sarah.
This is the moderator. I apologize. It does look like we do have one member of the public online.
Okay. So let us open then the channel for public comment on board activity reports.
Right. This is the moderator, and at the direction of the board, I've opened up the Q&A feature for public comment. Members of the public, if you would like to make a comment on this item, please click the Q&A icon located at the bottom right-hand corner of your WebEx screen, or use the raise hand function. And while I wait for public to access those features, can I get a quick mic check from Judy Bucciarelli?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Perfect.
Great.
Okay, I'm glad. I'm very happy to hear that.
All right. And it appears we do not have any requests for public comment. Would you like me to close that Q&A panel?
Please, and I see the public participant looks like our CAPA board president. So, okay, thank you. Very well, let's close item number 8. And now that we have Ms. Bucciarelli here, I guess we can do number 9.
Yes. Okay, so you can't see me, right?
No, your video's
I would love to
we
be.
can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Then we'll just go with the audio. Okay, good morning, everyone, and thank you for allowing me an opportunity to provide the Department of Consumer Affairs update today. So I apologize in advance that you can't see me, and I'm going to run through the items that are scripted for me. So I'm sorry if it sounds like I'm reading, but I am. So we'll start off with new DCA staff. We are very excited to announce that the governor recently appointed leaders to DCA's board and bureau relations team. Melissa Gear is serving as DCA's new Deputy Director of Board and Bureau Relations, and she joined the department on October 3rd. She brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to DCA. She previously served as the Chief Deputy Legislative Director at the Department of Insurance since 2014. She has also served at the California State Teachers Retirement System, California Attorney General's Office, and the Legislative Analyst's Office. Beginning November 14th, Yvonne Durantes will serve as the new Assistant Deputy Director of Board and Bureau Relations. She has been serving as a Senior Emergency Services Coordinator at the California Governor's Office of Emergency Services since 2022 and a Policy Analyst and Task Force Coordinator since 2019. She was an executive fellow at Cal OES from 2018 to 2019, and we are very excited to have this new BBR team in place to serve and assist our boards and bureaus. Next, I'll talk about DCA Diversity, Equity, and the Inclusion Steering Committee. Director Kimberly Kirchmeyer established the department's first Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Steering Committee to guide the department with its equity strategy, initiatives, and action plans. The DEI committee will hold its official kickoff meeting November 9, 2022. Strategic planning. In accordance with Governor Gavin Newsom's executive order, strategic plans in effect July 2023 and beyond must be developed or updated to more effectively advance equity and drive outcomes that increase opportunity for all. In response, DCA is revising its strategic planning processes to incorporate more inclusive public engagement, data analysis, and embedding diversity, equity, and inclusion into the strategic planning process. Over the coming months, the DEI committee will inform the strategic planning processes. By March 2023, DCA will begin implementing the revised processes and working with the boards in updating existing strategic plans or developing new strategic plans. Next up, our Promise campaign. It's that time of year again, and DCA is excited to take part in Our Promise, California State Employees Giving at Work once more and celebrate 65 years of caring for California. This year's Our Promise Vice Chair is Lourdes Castro Ramirez, Secretary of Business, Consumer Services, and Housing Agency, and our DCA Our Promise co-chairs are Chief Deputy Director Christine Lally and Deputy Director Melissa Gear. The campaign began on October 1st and will end on December 31st. The campaign allows Californians to donate to a nonprofit or nonprofits of their choice. With your assistance, DCA hopes to continue its tradition of generosity and caring for our communities through this year's campaign. Please assist us in spreading the word and encouraging all members and staff to make a one-time donation or donate online through Cal Employee Connect. California can be cared for as little as $5 per month. Next, I want to touch on in-person meeting guidelines and COVID-19 safety measures. The legislation has passed allowing remote meetings through June 30th, 2023. We are reminding boards that choose to hold in-person meetings of safety measures, best practices, and recommendations for holding public meetings. When planning for upcoming meetings, please remember all board, bureau members, and staff are expected to follow the state and local public health guidelines that apply in the area where meetings are held. CDPH released updated guidance for the use of face masks. Please refer to the guidance ahead of the meetings to determine the appropriate masking approach for your meeting. If masks are recommended for your meeting location, please post face covering guidance signage at your meeting, check-in, or entrance. Next is board member travel. As travel begins to pick up, it is important to remember that state travel arrangements must be made through DCA's approved travel agency, Cal Travel Store or Concur. All board bureau members and staff must use the most economical fares possible when traveling by air on official state business. Typically, this will be the Southwest Wanna Get Away option. However, there may be additional charges if changes are made to the flight. Flight changes to the date and time for personal convenience are not approved, and the traveler will be responsible for any associated charges. Additionally, AB 1887 prohibits state agencies, departments, boards, authorities, and commissions from traveling to states that are subject to California's travel ban. There are now 23 prohibited states. The entire list of states can be viewed on the website of the Attorney General. Next is partnership with the State Controller's Office. DCA will partner with the State Controller's Office to share information with consumers and certain licensees about the unclaimed property program. State law requires banks, insurance companies, corporations, and other entities to report and submit their customers' property to the State Controller's Office after a period of inactivity, generally 3 years. Certain DCA licensees will benefit from this partnership as it will educate them about their responsibility to report unclaimed property and assist with compliance. Additionally, the program is a great resource for all consumers to locate their unclaimed property. As always, DCA is here to help, and if there is anything we can do to assist, please reach out to Melissa Gear, Chief Deputy of Board and Bureau Relations. And that concludes my DCA update. Are there any questions?
Well, thank you, Ms. Buccarelli. It doesn't sound like we have any questions. Thank you for your appearance and fighting through those technical issues.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sure we'll see you at in-person meetings in the future.
Yes. President Armenta?
Yes, please, Dr.
Yeah, I do have a question. Excuse me, I was curious to learn, you mentioned 23 states. I mean, that seemed to be an increased number from maybe a year ago. Is on the site, does it list the reasons for the prohibited travel? Okay.
It does, yes.
Yeah, well, that's almost half the country.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right, thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Okay, if that's it, I'll let you get back to your business, and thank you very much for letting me speak today. I appreciate it.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
All right, have a great day.
You too. Thank you. All right. Any public comment? Should we open the public conduit for that section, please?
This is the moderator and the section of the board. I've opened up the Q&A feature for public comment. Members of the public, if you would like to make a comment on this item, please click the Q&A icon located at the bottom right-hand corner of your WebEx screen or use the raise hand function. I'll pause a moment to allow the public time to access those features and submit their requests. All right, and seeing none, would you like me to close that Q&A panel?
Please. All right, very good. That concludes item number 9. Let's go on to item number 10, which is the budget update. And I assume we have a DCA budget analyst on the line.
Yes. Hi, good morning, and thank you, Mr. Armenta, and congratulations to you and Sonia. I'm here to present the board's 21-22 actual fund condition. We're going to start off with the budget memo, and this will give you the general overview of the board's budget, as well as percentage of the budget used and counted toward expenditure. In 21-22, the board had a budget of $3,013,000. The board used 36.28% of the expenditure on personal services, which includes salaries and benefits, 36.13% for OE&E, which includes contracts, purchases, and travels, and 23.27% for enforcement, which is Office of Administrative Hearing, as well as Attorney General. The board had 4.32% in reversion. Excuse me. On the second page, please. We have the fund condition. We have an actual 2021 beginning balance of $4.9 million with prior year adjustment of negative $70,000. And that gives us an adjusted beginning balance of about $4.8 million. We have an overall revenue of $2.4 million and a total expenditure of $2.4 million. And it should give us a fund balance of $4.8 million, which is about 19 months in reserve. We also have 21-22 actual beginning balance of about $4.8 million with a prior year adjustment of $197,000, and that gives us an adjusted beginning balance of about $5 million. We have an overall revenue of $2.5 million, and a transfer to general fund AB 84 of negative $88,000. A total expenditure of $2.9 million, and that gives us a fund balance of $4.5 million, or 16.8 months in reserve. Excuse me. For current year, which is 22-23, we have our beginning balance of $4.5 million, and we have projected total revenue of about $2.6 million and $3.2 million in expenditure. With that expenditure and revenue, we currently have a fund balance of about 3.9 million, which gives us about 14 months in reserve. Budget years is based on Governor's Act, and budget year +1 is based on Realize. And for the next document, we have is the year-end 21-22 expenditure. We have $1.1 million in personal services and about $1.8 million in OE&E expenses for a total of about $2.9 million, which create a saving of about $130,000 or about 4.32%. We have no concern for the fund, and we're working on 22-23 projections with the board. I'm available if you have any questions. Excuse me.
Any questions, please?
Hi, this is Sonia Early, the Vice President. I just want to thank you for such a detailed review of our expenses. I am impressed that we have additional savings through our COVID time period. Do you know the total savings that we've had over this 2.5-year period?
I don't actually currently have that, but I can look that up and I would be able to provide it to you.
No, that's fine. Or even just a guesstimate. I can probably do some of the math in my head, but I just, as a guesstimate, it's a lot of money.
So for this, for 21-22, we have 130,000, and prior year, I believe we have almost similar. So.
Hi, this is Renee. I'm the budget manager that oversees PAB. We do historically revert even prior to COVID and the COVID impact, but we do on average have about 100,000 per year in reversions, even pre-COVID. So while there is some savings, even during the pandemic, I do want to note that the board does historically revert in general.
Great.
If you are looking, if you're looking for general total, we're probably thinking 100,000 a year. Over 3 years, we'd be looking around $300,000 in potential COVID-related savings.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Any other comments? Very well.
So this is, I'm sorry for had a little mute problem there. I just wanted to ask one quick question.
Please, go ahead.
So I just wanted to make sure that I'm remembering correctly that for the fund to be healthy, we want between 6 and 18 months in reserve. Is that correct? Am I remembering correctly there?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Excuse me.
Any other comments, members? All right, very well. Let's open the public comment channel.
This is a moderator and at the direction of the board, I have opened up the Q&A feature for public comment. Members of the public, if you would like to make a comment on this item, please click the Q&A icon located at the bottom right-hand corner of your WebEx screen or use the raise hand function. I'll go ahead and pause a moment to allow the public time to access the Q&A panel and submit their requests. All right, and seeing none, would you like me to close that Q&A panel?
Please, thank you. All right, very good. That brings us up to item number 11, the update on medical consultant reviewer program. Mr. Melendez, if you would, please.
Hello again. I would also like to update the board with the medical consultant application. At the last board meeting, the board members suggested that we increase one of the requirements. We have increased the minimum number of years of practice from 3 to 5 years. A licensee will be required to have a minimum of 5 years of practice in order to apply for the medical consultant program. This was the only change that was requested to be made, and the application has been updated. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Melendez. If the members will see the draft application is in the materials.
President Armenta, this is Jed. I just have one question for Mr. Melendez.
Please go ahead.
Do you, when they check at the practice area definers, can they check multiple of those? This is PDF and it looks like they can. I just wanted to clarify they would be able to check lots of boxes where they'd practiced before.
Yes. They should be able to check the boxes on the experience and the requirements, and also the part where the experience, the type of experience they might have.
Right. So if they've worked in 3 or 4 different specialties, they can check all of the boxes for that, not just one.
Yes, because that helps me define which medical consultants or MCs I'll be able to use for certain types of cases. Eventually, I don't have too many MCs right now. I know the what their specialties are, that the ones I do have, but I'll have a spreadsheet where I have them broken up. So if I need to find one, I could always look up that certain specialty and be able to contact them.
Okay, great. Thanks. I appreciate your hard work on this. Really excited that we have some medical consultants coming on board. It's one of the things that was in our strategic plan for years, and it's just exciting to see it finally happening. So thank you for your hard work on
it. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Jed. Any other questions?
Yeah, this is Vasco Dion Kidd. Just a quick question for Mr. Melendez. And again, thank you for your hard work on this. I just wanted to make sure, if I remember correctly, that the years of experience would be current in the position, right? So if you're an orthopedic medical consultant, we would think that you would have active experience in that field. So if you're checking multiple boxes, such as ED, obstetrics, and orthopedics, if we're looking for a medical consultant for orthopedic surgery, as an example, we would someone who's currently in that practice for a minimum of 5 years. Is that correct?
Well, the way that I understood it, it's the minimum of 5 years of practice as a licensed physician assistant.
So my concern would be there that if I'll just take myself as an example. If I worked for orthopedic surgery for 5 years and then worked ED for 5 years, and I checked both boxes, but my current practice is emergency medicine, would I qualify as an orthopedic consultant?
Well, they're not broken down as a specific consultant. It's just in general, and but I could always document when I review the applications. I can always document how many years they might have once I look at their CV and or job experience that they might provide me with, and that's how I could identify which would be the best PA to review an orthopedic or a family med and so on.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
So I would leave it as current.
Okay. Any other comments?
Up to you.
All right. Thank you for that, Dion. All right. Well, then, hearing no other comments, let's open the public channel for comment.
This is the moderator, and at the direction of the board, I've opened up the Q&A feature for public comment. Members of the public, if you would like to make a comment on this item, please click the Q&A icon located at the bottom right-hand corner of your WebEx screen, or use the raise hand function. I'll pause a moment to allow the public time to access the Q&A panel and submit their requests. All right, and seeing none, would you like me to close that Q&A panel?
Yes, please. Thank you. Very good. That brings us to Dr. Hawkins' report on the medical board activities. If you would, please, Dr. Hawkins.
Thank you very much. Good morning again, and thanks for the opportunity to report some of the important activities of the Medical Board of California. I'll be very brief. As Vice President of the Medical Board, I'm pleased to represent the board. The Medical Board last met virtual August 24th to 25th of this year. Significant board activities since we last met include 2 strategic planning sessions, preparation for a sunset review early next year, and Medical Board quarterly newsletter, which is in process. The board is next scheduled to meet in person in Los Angeles, December 1st and 2nd of this year. The agenda is not finalized, but will be viewable at our website, mbc.ca.gov. The next Medical Board quarterly newsletter will be available at our website later this month, and I recommend you all check it out. Thanks again for the opportunity to participate in the PA Board and PA activities, and this ends my report.
Thank you, Dr. Hawkins. Any comments or questions of Dr. Hawkins? Very good. Hearing none, can we open the public channel for comment?
This is the moderator, and at the direction of the board, I've opened up the Q&A feature for public comment. Members of the public, if you would like to make a comment on this item, please click the Q&A icon located at the bottom right-hand corner of your WebEx screen or use the raise hand function. I'll pause a moment to allow the public time to access the Q&A panel and submit their requests. All right, and seeing none, would you like me to close that Q&A panel?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Thanks again.
Thank you, Dr. Hawkins.
You're welcome.
All right, so number 13, discussions regarding the schedule for 2023, meeting dates and locations. So as I indicated in the opening remarks, the waiver for virtual meetings expires July 1st. So just as an initial thought process, it has been suggested, I think it's a good suggestion, that February be virtual to give us time and space to see how the fall and winter season affects us with COVID, and of course for the savings we do make by virtual. But the May meeting probably should be in person because that will include our strategic planning session. So it may be useful to have everybody present for May in Sacramento. The August meeting, then we could do in Southern California to do our Southern California meeting. And then November, probably a personal in-person meeting in November in Sacramento. So those are my initial thoughts with input from our executive officer and vice president. So if anybody has comments or suggestions, now is the time, folks. And by the way, if you could access your calendars as well, maybe we can narrow down what would work for these dates. So let's break that down. First, does anybody have any comment or other suggestions other than I've outlined, which would be February virtual, May Sacramento, August Southern California, November Sacramento?
Hi, this is Sonia Early, Vice President. I have a quick question regarding, I believe, the length of time between meetings. We'd like them to be, is it 90 days or what is the maximum number of days?
This is Rosanna. It's 100 days.
100 days. Okay. And I know that we try to go below that. All right. Let me look at schedules. That May 1st date is, may not be a good date for me, but let me double check.
Mr. President, this is Jed. I'm just wondering why the Friday why the meeting in August is on a Friday. We usually have meetings on Mondays. Just curious if there's a reason.
This was suggested by staff. I think they were trying to get, either Friday or Monday to facilitate. I have no objections to it being fundamentally a Monday.
This is Rosanna. For the August meeting, if we're traveling, we've normally traveled, on a Thursday, and then meeting was Friday, and then, that weekend. That's the only reason we did a Friday if we're traveling out of town.
Oh, that's the Southern California meeting. That's right.
Yes, correct.
Okay, so it's just basically to accommodate for ease of travel for staff?
Correct.
Okay, great. Thanks for the clarification. Appreciate it.
Okay, so please, everybody, review your calendars if you're not doing so already. Okay, Sonia, you're the only one that's commented so far that Monday, May 8th might be problematic.
I think it's May 1st that would be problematic, but I know that we often run, there's usually a problem in May because we normally have it around Mother's Day. And I know that we tried to steer clear of that this year, which is the 2nd, which is the 14th.
No, the proposed date is May 8th, Sonia.
Oh, is it May 8th? Okay, I thought I had it for May 1st.
It's May 1st.
It's May.
Yeah, President Armenta, in the meeting documents, it says May 1st. So.
Oh, I'm looking at the calendar and it says May 8th.
Yeah, so so I'm looking at May 1st. Okay, so yes. So May 1st might be an issue, but May 8th might be open. Is that good for?
So we initially proposed May 8th. However, Federation of State Medical Board just put out their annual conference, and that will be the week of we just wanted to make sure we conduct the meeting, and then staff will be traveling for that week. It's a week-long conference. So we just wanted to make sure that we were available to attend that.
Okay, well, I guess I shouldn't have been looking at the calendar so closely and more at the.
Okay. Okay, let's go with it. That's fine.
Can you make that work?
I will try to make that work, yes.
Okay, so this should say May 1st. Maybe I have an old edition of the meeting materials. Okay, doesn't matter. All right, so it looks like the proposed dates then would be February 6th, and that will be virtual. May 1st, in person, Sacramento. Friday, August 11th, in person, Southern California. November 6th, in person, Sacramento.
President Armenta, this is Jed Grand. In the meeting material, it says August 4th. Is it the 4th or the 11th?
It's the 4th. One, it was attached to the calendar. I'm not sure if you printed which material you printed.
I printed out the most recent. I don't know why I have a calendar that says August. Okay, well, it doesn't matter. Yeah, so August 4th. Let me double check that. Rosanna, we should see why I have a calendar that says otherwise, but that's okay. We'll figure that out some other time. All right, August 4th. All right, that's fine. And then November 6th, or do I have that wrong too?
That one's correct.
Okay, so let me go over it again so there's no confusion. February 6th, virtual. May 1st, in-person Sacramento. August 4th, in-person Southern California. November 6th, in-person Sacramento. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. All right. So does that work for everybody, or do we have any issues there? Okay. Would anybody like to make the motion to adopt those dates? February 6th, the virtual, May 1st, in-person Sacramento, August 4th, in-person Southern California, November 6th, in-person Sacramento.
This is Jed. I'll make the motion to accept those dates.
This is Dion. I will second that motion.
Very good. Motion having been laid out, can we open the public channel before we take a vote?
This is the moderator, and at the direction of the board, I have opened up the Q&A feature for public comment. Members of the public, if you would like to make a comment on this item, please click the Q&A icon located at the bottom right-hand corner of your WebEx screen or use the raise hand function. I'll go ahead and pause a moment to allow the public time to access the Q&A panel and submit their requests. All right, and seeing none, would you like me to close that Q&A panel?
Please. And the panel now being closed, can we go ahead and call the roll on that motion? Or the vote on that motion?
Charles Alexander,
Aye.
Juan Armenta,
Aye.
Jennifer Carlquist,
Aye.
Sonia Early,
Aye.
Jed Grant,
Aye.
Diego Insunza,
Aye.
Bosco Dion Kidd.
Aye.
All right, very good. Looks like the motion carries unanimously. So I'm sure our executive officer will make sure we have, everybody gets that calendar for next year. Great, okay. Hopefully we'll get past the waivers and we'll be able to meet in person again. All right, very good. Does anybody believe we should take a comfort break or should we go right into 14? All right, not hearing any hands for the comfort break. Let's go right into number 14. Members Halbo and Dillon, please.
This is Karen Halbo, and we had this regulation package through its regular 45-day comment period. And then I realized we had a law passed that became effective over the summer, requiring boards to be able to waive fees for domestic partners and spouses of people in the armed forces, and they would need to submit certain documentation. And so we did a modification to the text. It's to 16 CCR 1399.506, the first one in this package, adding a subdivision B so that we have to follow the law from the moment it's effective, but this tells, by putting it in regulation, you're letting the people who this applies to know what they're supposed to do. And so the text was circulated for a modified text. And Jasmine, I believe there were no comments. Is that correct? I can't tell if I was heard or not.
I heard you.
Okay. And so that was the proposed modified text. And the reason the modified text was to explaining to the board what that was about was so that we would have in regulation clear directions. So if someone, as a matter of the law, can get a waived fee and an expediting of their license, that these are the materials they need to provide to staff so that they can expedite and handle their application appropriately. And then,
So I have a question. The law, does it only allow fees for those that have a declaration of domestic partnership in California, or any state that has a similar feature?
any state, that's the other documentary evidence of legal union. It's just, that's what it's called here. It's called something else in some of the other states.
Okay, got it. And then the other question is, what does this do to adoption of this process? Are we starting over because of the public comment and everything?
No.
Oh, you're muted. Okay.
Oh.
No, you're good. You're good. It just lagged.
No, by making this correction, basically to make sure that the regulation, it had to be done, because if it got to the Office of Administrative Law, OAL would look at it and say, you know, your application regulation doesn't have any mention or listing about this required waiver. And so they could say it's inconsistent with the law. So it really was something that needed to get done. And because it went out for the 15-day, and I believe there were minimal, or what are our comments? Was that attached? Yeah, I have to ask Jasmine, because the comments go into her, but it wouldn't delay things. Once the board adopts this text, I believe we can prepare the final documents and submit it into the Office of Administrative Law.
Okay, very good. Because I'd hate to go back and the whole process again for this amendment. Okay. All right. Any other comments or questions on this particular piece of business? Okay, well, I'd like to make a motion to adopt this modification. Mr. Canos, can you help us with what that motion needs to look like for record keeping?
Yes, and actually I want to check back here, because I see in the memo that we did get a public comment, and that in the memo there's a drafted board response. This was a person complaining that address of record, you know, having to give your home address is not good. And the response is that it's found in statute, and it can be a PO box or their business address. So that's the first paragraph. I went straight to the modified text because that was the part I was most involved in. But this is a response to the comment that the board is being asked to adopt. So it's actually two steps. I kept checking. Well, does Jasmine, were there responses? I'm afraid I do handle a couple of these packages at the same time. And so what we're asking the board to do is approve the proposed response to the comment. And she's asking us basically to rewrite it to say more things. And if she just sees the law or checks with somebody at staff, she can find out that she has the option of putting a PO box or a business address.
Right.
She sort of presumed that it meant one thing. And so that we're asking for a motion. So I can read you what it is. It's the board's asked to move to approve the proposed response to the public comment, adopt the proposed modified text amending 16 CCR section 1399.506, I believe is already run. And there were no adverse comments during the 15-day comment period, and direct the executive officer to take all steps necessary to complete the rulemaking, authorize the executive officer to make any technical or non-substantive changes to the proposed regulations, and adopt the proposed language with the modifications to 16 CCR section 1399.506.
Okay, very well. That will be the motion that I propose, and I see basically read verbatim the action requested. So that'll be the proposed motion that I will make. Is there a second to that motion?
Hi, this is Sonia Early. I'll second.
Thank you, Sonia. Before taking the vote, can we have the public channel open, please, for comment?
This is the moderator, and at the direction of the board, I have opened up the Q&A feature for public comment. Members of the public, if you would like to make a comment on this item, please click the Q&A icon located at the bottom right-hand corner of your WebEx screen or use the raise hand function. I'll pause a moment to allow the public time to access the Q&A panel and submit their requests. All right, and seeing none, would you like me to close that Q&A panel?
Yes, please. Thank you. Very well. If we could call the vote, please.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I just had to ask Jasmine to check because I'm on bereavement leave and I'm using a computer, so I can't check on another computer to be sure about the 15-day having closed and no comments on the 15-day. And I just texted to Jasmine. She says she's having mic issues. And if she could possibly come on and confirm that we've had the 15-day run and that I have the correct information, because I'm only got one computer and I can't simultaneously check somewhere else right now.
Okay. Can she do that?
Yeah, I'm not hearing her come up. So, okay, then I'm going to ask her by text.
This is the moderator, Jasmine. If you're still experiencing mic issues, you can try calling into the WebEx by going up to audio and video, switch audio, and then follow the call-in instructions.
This is Jasmine. Can you hear me?
Oh, I think we may have heard you. Can you speak again?
Hi, this is Jasmine. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, I'm actually using my coworker's headphones. So, okay, so sorry about that. So Karen, sorry, you had asked about the public comment period?
Yeah, on the 15-day, was that the one comment that's prepared in the materials?
So the comment that is included in attachment 1 was actually received during the 45-day comment period, which closed on October 25th. And
okay.
So we are proposing, what we're asking of the board is to allow us to publish the proposed response into the package, and then therefore the package will go for a 15-day comment period in the next couple of days, which will include the modified text and the proposed response in regards to the comment received.
Okay, so it hasn't gone out yet. I'm sorry. I had a board meeting Friday and I'm here for my bereavement leave and I lost track of who had what. Okay. So then should we rephrase the motion? Because I believe in the motion we said that the 15-day had already gone out, and that's not accurate. The 15-day is about to go out if the board votes to adopt the language.
I believe that the motion is pretty clear.
Okay.
I think it does state that.
Yeah.
Okay.
For a 15-day public comment period.
Right.
Yeah.
Then I think it's fine and you can proceed. I just wanted to be sure I had my facts right. And I'm used to having two computers when I'm on a meeting, and I don't have that here.
Okay. All right, very well. I think the motion's okay. You agree?
I just, if we listen back to the tape and I had made as I was reading it, I said it went out. I don't know if I did that or not.
All right. Well, let me just restate it so the record's clear.
Thank you.
So we'll rescind the prior. I'll rescind my prior motion. And Sonia, I think you would rescind your second. Do you agree?
Yes.
All right. So the motion will be: the board is asked to make a motion to approve the proposed response to the public comment, adopt the proposed modified text amending 16 CCR section 1399.506 for a 15-day public comment period, And if there are no adverse comments received during the 15-day comment period, direct the EO to take all steps necessary to complete the rulemaking, authorize the executive officer to make any technical or non-substantive changes to the proposed regulations, and to adopt the proposed language with the modifications to 16 CCR section 1399.506. So that will be the motion. Any second?
I'll second.
Very good. And just for safety's sake, can we reopen the public comment period?
This is the moderator, and at the direction of the board, I've opened up the Q&A feature for public comment. Members of the public, if you would like to make a comment on this item, please click the Q&A icon located at the bottom right-hand corner of your WebEx screen or use the raise hand function. And I'll pause a moment to allow the public time to access the Q&A panel and submit their requests. All right, and seeing none, would you like me to close that Q&A panel?
Please close that. Thank you. And let's go ahead and call the vote.
Charles Alexander,
Aye.
Juan Armenta,
Aye.
Jennifer Carlquist,
Aye.
Sonia Early,
Aye.
Jed Grant,
Aye.
Diego Insunza,
Aye.
Vasco Dion Kidd.
Aye.
That concludes the vote.
Okay, motion carries unanimously, so that will be the action. Thank you so much, everybody. And thank you, Karen, and thank you for sharing time with us during your bereavement leave. We appreciate that and know the burden it is, so thank you. All right, so that brings us to item number 15, which is the update on pending regulatory package. Ms. Dillon, if you would, please.
All right, so item number 1, regulatory package, license renewal and continuing medical education required. The revised proposed regulatory language was approved and adopted by the board at its November 8th, 2021 meeting, and staff will be working on initial documents to submit for initial review next calendar year. The next package, SB 697 implementation. Staff is currently working on initial documents with Regulations Council and the Budget Office to submit for initial review with the intent to file this package with OAL prior to the next board meeting. Package number 3, application, exam scores, addresses, and record keeping. Staff submitted initial submission documents for budget and legal review, which was completed on July 29th, 2022. The initial submission documents were approved by agency on August 27th, 2022. Notice of the proposed regulatory action was published on September 9th, 2022, and the 45-day comment period closed on October 25th, 2022. Package number 4, labeled retired status to include fingerprint requirement. This package is on hold for 2022 until the above packages are completed. Package number 5, implement uniform standards related to substance abusing licensees and update of disciplinary guidelines. This package is also on hold for 2022 until the above packages are completed. And finally, package number 6, military applicant temporary licensure. The proposed regulatory text was reviewed, discussed, and adopted by the board at its August 8th, 2022 meeting. And staff is currently working on initial documents with Regulations Council and the Budget Office to submit for initial review. And that concludes the update.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Dillon. Now, it doesn't seem that there's any action that we need to do. Is that your assessment, Ms. Dillon?
Correct. Besides for agenda item 14, which the board just discussed.
Right. Okay, very well. Any other comments from the board? All right. Having heard no comment, can we open for public comment, please?
This is the moderator, and at the direction of the board, I have opened up the Q&A feature for public comment. Members of the public, if you would like to make a comment on this item, please click the Q&A icon located at the bottom right-hand corner of your WebEx screen, or use the raise hand function. And I'll pause a moment to allow the public time to access the Q&A panel and submit their requests. All right, and seeing none, would you like me to close that Q&A panel?
Yes, thank you. Very good. We've come to our lunch break, but I would like to take a comfort break for the members at some point. But I think we can probably get through Member Grant's and Dr. Alexander's presentation at 16. So unless there's a different suggestion, why don't we move right to number 16?
All right, thanks, President Armenta. So the Accreditation Review Committee met in September and approved several more programs. There are now 300 PA programs across the United States, with currently accredited programs in California of 20 and 3 developing. You can see the programs listed here. Since our last meeting, we had another program approved that was in a developing program prior, which also went through and was able to further clarify the number of seats in some of the programs by visiting all the websites. So it looks like, with the exception of one, which used a national average of 45, I believe, 45 or 46, I can't remember what it is this year, but for Touro, the one that's being developed in LA, the rest of those numbers are all accurate, which gives us an annual capacity of 933 for the current programs, with a state average slightly lower than the national average at 41. And then once those further 3 programs that are developing come online, then we should have a capacity just over 1,000, which is a little bit higher than we previously thought, which is good. You can see the map there. This is a graphic representation. This comes from the Physician Assistant Education Association, and it is not quite accurate, but it still gives you an idea what the geographic distribution of the program is, with most of them being in the San Francisco or the Bay Area and the greater Los Angeles area, with 3 in the San Diego area, and 2 in the Sacramento area, and then in Monterey and San Marcos, so the 2 in the middle of the state there along the coast. There are no programs in Central California, but many of the programs have clinical rotation sites in the rural areas of Central California. So even though it looks like there's no PA students floating around in Central California, there are many, many rotation sites there in that area of unmet need. So the map doesn't represent it, but there are a lot of students floating around there. And then I think, I noted it's 45 is the national average this year. Last year it was 46. So that sort of gives you an idea of what's going on with PA training within California. The reason this is important is just in looking at workforce and growth of the profession within California, what we can expect. Most of the schools, the state-run schools, there's a lower tuition for in-state students, and then many of them. And then the private schools, many of them offer some benefited admissions to folks that are willing to go to underserved areas or have something in their mission about working in health resource shortage areas within California. So these are things that help us meet the workforce need in California, especially in rural and underserved areas. So happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you. This is Dion Kidd. Thank you, Jed, for that comprehensive report. Quick question for you regarding Central California. Has AT still started their program? I know they were looking at bringing in 100 students per cohort. I'm not sure if that program has started or still in the development phase.
Yeah, great question, Dion. Thanks. Yeah, they are, if you look at the map, they're the one sort of like right in the middle in between the Bay Area and the LA area. That's in San Marcos, which is right there in central Santa Maria, basically is the city that it's in. Their clinical rotations are all over actually the whole United States. So one of the limitations for clinical rotations, they do have listed that they're taking 100 students from all over, and their clinical rotations are all over the United States. So the limitation for growth of programs is the clinical rotation sites. You may be aware that AT still has sites in several other, that they have campus locations in several other states. And so they're able to sort of leverage that economy of scale and have their students rotating all over the country, which is good that they're training for the first year in the Santa Maria area, but I'm not sure that we will see the same retention in terms of workforce, going to underserved areas that we do with some of the other programs that don't have clinical rotation sites all over the country. But yes, to answer your question directly, they are open, they are accepting students, and their cohort size is 100.
Thank you, Jed.
Sure, great question.
Hi, this is Sonia. Yes, I do have one update to your beautiful schematic. Southern California University of Health Sciences is no longer on probation. They received continued accreditation a few weeks ago, so you can update that slide.
Okay, yeah, this was updated on the 26th of October. So yeah, if it's been since then we'll be happy to do that. Moving forward. I pull this directly from the ARCPA website, and typically the ARCPA, the information they have on their website is current, but I will pull it from the website for every meeting just to make sure that we have a reliable source data on that. But certainly we'll recheck it before the next meeting and update it if it shows a change on the ARC website.
Excellent. Thank you.
Sure, of course. Any other questions?
Jed, considering the other data point of applications versus capacity, do you think an increase in capacity is warranted as a long-term goal, or given the natural growth of these programs, does the profession look in pretty good shape in terms of educational capacity?
Well, that's a great question. I think that there's a lot of growth around the country. Right now, the limiting factor on growth is clinical rotation sites. So PA schools train on the medical model where there's first a didactic, somewhere between 12 and 15 months of didactic training, and then another 12 to 15 months on average of clinical rotations. The average is around 2,000 hours, which is similar to the clerkships that med students do. The problem is that those clinical rotation sites historically have generally not been paid, so they rely on community or hospital-based providers to volunteer to take PA students with them and train them. And now those, with the burden of COVID and workload and those sorts of things, many of those rotation sites are hard to come by. Most PA programs are paying for rotation sites that are a little harder to get, which are typically things like pediatrics and women's health. And so as those schools have to pay for those sites and there becomes more competition for those sites, that raises the cost for the students and limits the availability of growth for more seats in the program. So until we get that figured out in PA education, there probably won't be a lot of growth here. I would guess that if you were to survey most of these institutions and say, would you grow another 15 or 20 seats if you could, they would all say yes, of course, because they all have a very robust applicant pool. But if you don't have the clinical rotation sites, the accrediting body will not allow the growth, which makes sense. have to have a place to train the students. So many PA schools, especially on the eastern side of the U.S., have partnered with medical schools to share rotation sites, which has been one way to solve the problem. Other states have passed laws that give tax breaks to clinical preceptors. It's something we've talked about here before. So there's been some novel ways to approach this, but right now in California, I think we're unlikely to see much more growth than this because it's been very rapid growth over the last 8 years or so. And because it's becoming increasingly competitive for those clinical rotation sites.
Interesting. Okay, thank you, Jed.
Yes, sir. Thanks. Great question. Other questions? All right, this concludes our report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we've been going for a little over 2.5 hours. Let's go ahead and take a 10-minute comfort break, and we will resume with number 17. So let's get back here, folks, at 10:30. 10:30. If everybody's back, we can get back to business.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Yes, this is Michael. We should take roll again to ensure that we have a quorum. Also, I think we did not do public comment on the last item 16, before we went to break. So we should do that.
We'll do that. We'll do both. Thank you, Michael. So if we can take the board is in recess page off and call roll.
Charles Alexander,
Hey, present.
Juan Armenta,
Present.
Jennifer Carlquist,
Present.
Sonia Early,
Present.
Jed Grant,
Present.
Randy Hawkins, Diego Insunza,
Present.
Vasco Dion Kidd,
Present.
Randy Hawkins,
All right, well, we do have a quorum, so we'll go ahead and proceed with the public comment on the number 16 report, the Education and Workforce Development Advisory Committee report. If you'd open the public channel, please.
This is the moderator, and at the direction of the board, I've opened up the Q&A feature for public comment. Members of the public, if you would like to make a comment on this item, please click the Q&A icon located at the bottom right-hand corner of your WebEx screen or use the raise hand function. I'll pause a moment to allow the public time to access the Q&A panel and submit their requests. All right, and seeing none, would you like me to close that Q&A panel?
Please. All right, very good. Let's move then right on to item number 17, which is report by a legislative committee by members, Vice President Early, Member Carlquist, and Staff Member Dillon. So please, if you would.
Hello. So I will be presenting the report by the Legislative Committee, starting with AB 646. This bill fails passage and is considered dead. As you may recall, this bill required CCA, Department of Consumer Affairs, to post information on its website about a revoked license due to a criminal conviction, and to post notification of an expungement within 90 days of a board receiving an expungement order related to the conviction for those who reapply for licensure or are relicensed. Next bill, SB 731. This bill was approved by the governor on September 29th, 2022, and chaptered by the Secretary of State. This bill would expand automatic conviction record relief for a defendant convicted on or after January 1st, 2005 to non-serious, non-sexual, and non-violent felonies after an individual completes all terms of incarceration, probation, mandatory supervision, post-release community supervision, and parole, and a period of 4 years has elapsed during which the defendant was not convicted of a new felony offense. And this bill would further generally make this arrest record relief available to a person who has been arrested for a felony, including a felony punishable in the state prison as specified. Moving on to the next bill, AB 1733. This bill failed passage and is considered dead. This bill would have specified that a meeting held under the Bagley-Keene Open Meeting Act include a meeting held entirely by teleconference as defined, so long as the state body adhered to certain specified requirements, including ensuring the public has means to hear, observe, and address the state body during the meeting, providing the public with at least one physical location where they can participate, specify that the physical presence at any physical meeting location is not necessary for the member to be deemed present at the meeting, posting the meeting agendas online and at the physical meeting location with information indicating how the meeting can be accessed, allow board members to remotely participate in an open meeting without disclosing the remote location from which a member is participating, and ensuring that if a means of remote participation fails, the meeting must adjourn. Moving on to the next bill, AB 1662. This bill failed passage and is considered dead. This bill would have required a board to establish a process by which prospective applicants may request a pre-application determination as to whether their criminal history could be cause for denial of a completed application for licensure by the board. Moving on to AB 657. This bill was approved by the governor on September 27th, 2022, and chaptered by the Secretary of State. This bill is effective January 1st, 2023, and would require the Physician Assistant Board to expedite the licensure process of an applicant who can demonstrate that they intend to provide abortion services within their scope of practice, and would specify the documentation an applicant would be required to provide to demonstrate their intent. Moving on to AB 2626. This bill was approved by the governor as well on September 27th, 2022, and chaptered by the Secretary of State. This bill prohibits the Physician Assistant Board from suspending or revoking the certification or license of a physician assistant or performing an abortion so long as they perform the abortion in accordance with the provisions of the Physician Assistant Act, Physician Assistant Practice Act, and the Reproductive Privacy Act. And this bill contains an urgency clause that will make it effective upon enactment. And that concludes the report.
Thank you. I do have a question. Okay, no, that's dead. Okay. So my question is limited to SB 731. Now that it is enacted, we don't anticipate a fiscal impact in terms of any investigatory or review processes as we would have in the bill that's dead. Was it 731? No, I'm sorry, 731 is the active one. So 1662, Assembly Bill 1662 would have had a fiscal impact there. There's no fiscal impact though from SB 731?
That is correct. SB 731 would not have a fiscal impact on the board itself, but it would more so affect the Department of Justice and the means that they take to provide information on convictions and past misdemeanors, and when it comes to performing a background check. So it's my understanding from DCA Ledge Office that this bill would not impact our board in any fiscal way.
All right, very good. That's the only question I had. Thank you. Any other questions or comments on the statutory review? Okay, can we open for public comment, please?
This is the moderator, and at the direction of the board, I've opened up the Q&A feature for public comment. Members of the public, if you would like to make a comment on this item, please click the Q&A icon located at the bottom right-hand corner of your WebEx screen, or use the raise hand function. And I'll pause a moment to allow the public time to access the Q&A panel and submit their requests. All right, and seeing none, would you like me to close that Q&A panel?
Yes, please. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Ms. Dillon. Appreciate your analysis. That brings us to item number 18, agenda items for next meeting. Does anybody have any suggestions or comments on other matters that may be included on our next agenda?
Yes, hi, this is Sonia Early, and I have a question. Jed Grant provided great insight on the number of PA programs in the state, or altogether, 300. And then also our increased numbers to 20 with 3 developing in the state of California. I would wonder if maybe our EO and our staff can do just numbers to see if we are keeping up with the number of PAs coming into the state of California, or potential PAs in our workload. So something, I just don't want our board to get behind with the increase in numbers and then we be outstaffed or outnumbered in terms of our staff. Thank you.
Yes, I think that's an important point. Thank you, Sonia. Any other comments? Very well. Hearing no further comments, can we open for public comment?
This is the moderator, and at the direction of the board, I've opened up the Q&A feature for public comment. Members of the public, if you would like to make a comment on this item, please click the Q&A icon located at the bottom right-hand corner of your WebEx screen, or use the raise hand function. And I'll pause a moment to allow the public time to access those features and submit their requests. All right, and seeing none, would you like me to close that Q&A panel?
Yes, please. Thank you. Okay, that appears to conclude our open session part of today's meeting. We'll be moving to closed section to discuss items number 19A and B. And from that closed section, we will do the adjournment. So the public participation phase would be over. Council Canotes, is there anything else I need to add on that score?
Not at all. You covered it perfectly, Mr. President.
Thank you. Very well. Then if we could move into closed session, and Madam Moderator, I'm sure you will take care of all the technical aspects and proper attendance credentials.